Hello. This is the first video I've done for months on riding bicycle, and first one at this apartment. So we'll see how it goes. So this video request is from JFL Ander VR00. Hey Kyle, what's up? I'm good. Just riding my bicycle here. Thank you. Next video request. What are your thoughts on Jim Jones and the Jonestown massacre? Do you think he had any legitimate messages, or do you think he was just a crazy dude who was well-spoken? I kind of associate him with people like Hitler on how he can influence so many people with the way he talks in this public image. Thanks. Okay. So, what do I think about the Jim Jones massacre? I watched a 45-minute documentary on it, and then I listened to the entire 45-minute conversation that they had before they killed themselves on July 16th, or October 16th, 1979. And then I listened to him speaking, like, in his congregation between 76 and 79, like 15 minutes of it, and then another section. So yeah, so what are my thoughts on Jim Jones and the massacre? Do I think he had any legitimate messages? Yeah, he had, you know, all these crazy guys, when they say stuff, they say illegitimate stuff. He would say legitimate, cool things, and then he would go back to how he's the chosen one, and how they're going to kill everybody else, and everybody else is bad, and the world sucks, and all this kind of stuff. And then he'll go back and say something, he'll quote like the Bible or something, and then he'll go back and he was, you know, but this guy was like scary. It's a little bit harder to concentrate while you're moving your legs around. What was he saying? He believed in reincarnation. I'm going to move this back so I can't see myself. Get distracted. He believed in reincarnation. He said that was a legitimate idea. And what else did he say that was legitimate? Well, he said that we're all God. He said not just Jesus is God, but we're all God. And he set up soup kitchens and stuff for the poor. His first church was in like Fillmore neighborhood, you know, right there near Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco, you know, in like the early 70s. So right after all the hippie influx over there in 66, 67. And so he kind of, I think, you know, latched onto all that vibe, and probably, you know, took a bunch of those kind of lost souls over. Only the people he had were, I think, mostly black. Like when I heard the people saying, you know, at the end of the speech, talking about the church, they were all like ignorant black people, and they're going, and they're being told exactly what to do, because I could hear the person whisper in their ear to say what they said, because they couldn't remember what to say, and they're all saying the same thing. They're going, I believe in Jim Jones, and I'd do anything to protect this church, even kill the president. And then there are some people going crazy, like, yeah, I'd like to kill my own family members, hack them up in a bunch of little pieces and flush them down the toilet. So they were he latched on to a bunch of really angry people, you know, disenfranchised people, and I guess there were a whole lot of people like that in those days. You know, he gave a message that they were going to start a new utopian place in Guyana. I guess in Guyana they were looking for more people to populate the country, so they let them go there, and they got like a 3,000 acre plot of land. He get all these people to give them all their money. So when they went down there, they had the money to build the houses and everything, and then they couldn't escape. They didn't have the money to escape, and they had apparently written off all their family members too, so they had nowhere to go. when I listened to the final conversation that they had, there was one black woman trying to talk him out of it, saying that she thought that killing themselves was kind of a cop-out, and that the children deserved to live, and they should have fight on and fly to Russia, because their big thing was they called it communist socialism, and that's what they tried to start down there, where they all share and everything. But so she thought that they were going to be able to go to Russia. Like she said, well, when the governor was here, because there was a governor, I guess California or something, he went there to investigate with some other people, because they had some defectors who had been saying that they were being violent and beating them up for trying to escape, and that people were held there against their will. And I guess the governor told him, when they were there, I saw in the documentary that somebody handed him one of the reporters a note that said, please help me get out of here. They won't let me leave. And when the governor tried to leave, they killed the governor and a couple of reporters, a cameraman and a reporter. And it was actually filmed. It showed the cameraman filming it, and then the camera goes out, and then the cameraman got killed. But in the last speech, the lady saying, yeah, the governor said if we have a problem, just to ask him, and he'd help us get out. So maybe they'll help us get to Russia. So she thought the government was saying that they would actually provide planes for them to all fly to Russia and get set up in Russia. So this is how ignorant they were. And Jim Jones is going, yeah, I'm on the phone right now with Russia, and I'm trying to work out I'm in communication with Russia right now, and I'm trying to work out the details. Like as though he's talking to him in his head. But there were a couple of other people who chimed in. One man and a bunch of times, and then one woman, black, who were kind of like the thug, the muscles behind it. He was the Mr. Nice Guy, and they're saying, yeah, we all gotta die, we all gotta die. Their idea was that if they all died, see, they got screwed because they killed the governor and a few people, so now they knew that they were going to be shut down, and so I guess his ego was pumped up too much that they just wanted to die. And but their reasoning was, if they died, they could send a message to the whole world to show the world how screwed up the world was. So I guess in a way that's true. The world's screwed up enough to let there be ignorant people who are so screwed up. But they're also saying that it was easy to die, and it's harder to live and all that kind of stuff, which is true. But he was a total hypocrite, because in his earlier speeches that I heard, he was saying that the government or somebody tried to poison him and kill him, but they couldn't do it because I guess he's magical. And but then he turns around and poisons his own people. and he was saying that he didn't kill, he didn't like killing, he wouldn't even kill a fly. And then all of his followers were saying how they were going to dismember people and kill the president and kill their family members in a gruesome, torturous death. And he would laugh each time he'd go, yeah, and this evil laugh. So just totally twisted, totally hypocritical. The massacre, yeah, so I guess 913 people killed themselves. And he was shot in the head, so he couldn't even take the poison himself. He was the ultimate coward. I guess his nurse shot him and then shot herself, because they found the gun that killed him 20 feet away from him. But most of the other people a lot of people were shot, but most of the other people were poisoned, and there were a whole bunch of kids too. There were 200 kids who got killed. And they were having the kids say that too. I want to kill the president. So what are my thoughts about him? Well, I think it was just a bunch of like-minded people who came together, and they all wanted a leader, and he happened to be the leader. I wouldn't put all the blame on him. It was his fault, and he started it. He was just the one who had that personality, that leadership personality. But he was saying in his final speech that, he was the chosen one, and he was the one who everybody had to follow, and they all called him Dad in the video. They were all calling him Dad, even the old ladies. So I think the interesting thing to talk about the Jim Jones massacre is that, everybody knows that that's totally crazy, what they did. And all the things that they were saying, how they're going to kill the president and all that, and overthrow the government. So to keep that in mind, comparing that with modern day cults, I think, is the interesting thing, because you kind of feel like that's a whole nother world. But it's, there are a lot of similarities to ones nowadays. There's lots of cults these days that have like the one guy who has the message, and everybody else are just the followers who don't have that special vision. One cult that brings me to mind is Scientology. I saw on Breaking the Set, they had the girl on there, I can't remember her name. She had the great-grandson of L. Ron Hubbard on there. And he was the son of, the grandson of the son of L. Ron Hubbard, who defected. And he was saying that that L. Ron Hubbard was just making stuff up as he went along. And I heard a actual video on YouTube of L. Ron Hubbard talking about like some lizard king who came to the earth to destroy the earth, and how they seeded like souls in volcanoes and all this kind of stuff. But he's talking about it very frivolously, and it was clear to me that he was just making it up, and it's like some crazy schizophrenic kid just telling a story, like as though he was making it up. It was obvious to me, but I guess the people there, he didn't even have to like say it in a special way. He was just like, yeah, and then the lizard guy came here and he tried to seed the souls, but he tried to kill all the blah, 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 blah. It was obvious he made it up, but they believed it. And I guess that's what Tom Cruise and John Travolta believe. What the Scientology kid was telling the girl was that they have a lot of they go after the actors because they have a lot of money and they take all their money, but because actors are egomaniacs and they think they're better than everybody and special and all that, so they like the idea of getting the secret knowledge and having that special powers. You heard Tom Cruise saying in a video, if there's a car wreck, I like the idea that I'm the only person who knows what to do in that situation, So that kind of makes Tom Cruise a really good actor. Tom Cruise, probably a pretty close parallel universe is one of these cult leaders who just has such a huge ego that he just, he just overacts and it's, it makes for a good actor. But yeah, so yeah, he had legitimate messages just like L. Robert Hubbard does. It's just that I think that, one lesson to take away from this is to just know like what the warning signs are for one of these cults that aren't good, the ones that take the power away from you instead of give power. And that's when the leader says that he's the only one with the special message. I was talking about a cult here in Boulder called Allies of Humanity, and that guy actually went to one of the meetings once. That guy, claims to be the only one with the message, and his message is, the universe out there is bad and we gotta get destroyed, so we have to like prepare or whatever. So, that turned me off right there on him. And even a lot of New Agers, like on YouTube and stuff, I'm not going to drop any names, but who like to kind of sell themselves like they're special and they know stuff that the average person doesn't, and then they're psychic or whatever, they label themselves, or their YouTube channel is a special name. Like whenever I see that, and even if they say, they say everything they say I agree with and all that, but just that one quality of them saying that they're special, that turns me off. I wouldn't subscribe to him just for that. It's not cool. It's not necessary. It's kind of like they're cheating. They're like Lance Armstrong taking the drugs, because people like to believe somebody who they think is authentic, like people who they would pretend to channel the aliens or the spirits or something, and instead of just sell themselves as a normal person, sharing their ideas about stuff and encouraging other people to do the same thing. You know, there's lots of people in the world who don't have the ability to philosophize on their own. And some people might say, oh, it's, you know, there's the old souls and the young souls, but, and sometimes I mention that kind of stuff, but I don't think it's good to even mention that, old souls and young souls or whatever. It's better to just say some people can't think for themselves because they just weren't raised, they weren't brought up to think for themselves. But I think they can learn to think for themselves. There were a lot of parallels I drew between Jim Jones and Charles Manson. I saw actually a documentary on Charles Manson like a week or two ago, and he got people, mainly, you know, young girls, who grew up in families that did not communicate. So when they found Charles Manson, he was all of a sudden he's this guy who likes to talk and communicate, and you know, and would encourage them to communicate with him and all that kind of stuff. So it was really refreshing for them to have somebody who was just very, you know, took them under their wing and told them all this stuff, made them feel special and made them feel like they were part of a special group. But then they didn't really know. They started believing everything that they said, and then he could start saying other stuff, you know, and he turned out to be a master manipulator, bad guy. So yeah, I think the first, you know, warning bell is if somebody claims to be special, you know, it's kind of like they're in it for selfish reasons. They're trying to like make money on YouTube comments or the donations to their church, or to get free trips around to go to like conferences or whatever. I don't know. And I think that's why a lot of people have problems with people who try to ask for money for doing spiritual teachings. People who just do it, talk about like spiritual stuff for fun, I think are the ones who are the you know, trustworthy ones, the ones who aren't going to turn around and try to manipulate people, you know, tell people to kill people or encourage people to break the law, you know. And Charles Manson was a hypocrite too. He was always said that he never lie. He never lied to his followers, and then they were in jail and he was telling them to lie. And you know, in Charles Manson, he's all trying to act all badass, but he didn't even kill those people. He told his followers to do it. So, like, there's this woman, what's her name? The lady who said she was abducted by the gray aliens. He's talking about like all the evil reptile aliens. Is this woman, Anna? So I did a 17-part series on her like 4 years ago, back when my videos could only be 10 minutes long. But she likes to kind of make money, you know, charge people for her special teachings and stuff, and she talks about like the bad world out there. So it's like if they talk about the big bad world out there who you have to look out for, I'm the only person with the message. You know, that probably the third thing that they're going to do is try to make you do stuff like give them your money. Oh yeah, and they make you pay for their information. Big bad world out there, I'm the only one with a message. Pay me for knowledge. The fourth thing is going to be hurt somebody for me, you know, or, you know, because that's what the Scientologists do. They try to slander people, and they scare people, you know, like they're going to get hurt or something. And that the great grandson of L. Ron Hubbard was saying on that show that the Jonestown wasn't known as mass suicides until afterwards, and he said maybe that could happen with Scientology. He said it wouldn't surprise him at all, because Scientology is getting like boxed into a corner now, and they might say, "Oh, this whole world's screwed. We have to kill ourselves to get reborn on the planet Zebedon and hang out with L. Ron Hubbard and his big cruise spaceship. Hey, let's do it." So that'll be interesting. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as what they were saying, that they're all going to kill each other, kill themselves to show the world how fucked up the world was. Yeah, I mean, I think we should, and he had when he was giving his speech, they had a big plaque on the back of his church saying, if we don't learn from history, we're destined to repeat our mistakes. And that's true, I believe that too, you know, so let's learn from them and keep a really close eye on those people who say that they're special and they're the only ones with the message. You know, because chances are they're only recycling. You know, like if you're gonna come up, I don't think those are the people who are gonna come up with truly original ideas. They're the people who would go around and get ideas from other people and then send them like it's their idea, and they're going to eventually run out of original ideas and then fade away. I think the people with the original ideas are the people who talk about stuff for fun and try to bring everybody up on their level, and who aren't like intimidating, you know, like encourage people to challenge them and all that kind of stuff. Jim Jones looked scary. You look in his eyes, he looked like a scary guy. When I heard his final speech, he was saying stuff like, I mean, he had a soft voice, you know, and he was like, "Oh, woe is me," and so the people just latched onto it, you know. So it wasn't all his fault; it was everybody. So I think we need to just set up a system like an educational system that encourages everybody to share themselves. That's why all these anonymous people, dude, on the internet. It's like there's this dude commented on one of I talked about van living for college kids a couple days ago, and he goes something like, "Yeah, fuck those cops, you know, all cops suck," or something. And I was like, "Whoa, hang on, not all cops suck." And then he got all pissed off at me and told me I need to grow up, and then I commented on his channel. I'm like, "Look, man, you're totally anonymous. You don't have any videos up, and all you're doing is saying that the cops suck and this whole world sucks. Like, you're not helping the world. If you want to help the world, you need to start with yourself." Like that Michael Jackson song, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. And people need to kind of try to be their own gurus and their own spiritual masters, and have the answer for everything themselves. And if they're wrong, so what? Don't even delete the video. If you're wrong, just upload a part 2 and then say you changed your mind and now you're right. And then up 3 and up 4, part 4, you know. And people don't do that because then you get ostracized if you do, but you only get ostracized because everybody, all the same anonymous people do it. They do it to themselves. It's like this self-repeating cycle. The only way we're going to bust out of it is if we bust ourselves out. We share ourselves on the internet. And I think more people are doing it. You know, poor people like YouTube gave it the option to use your real name on YouTube and Google, and a lot of people went for that, like half the people. And I commend them, and out of them, maybe 20%, 10 or 20 use like their real picture, and I commend them. So the less anonymous you are, the more good you're doing. You know, if you wanted to actually try to stop cults yourself, is to do that. Because, you know, like me, I share a lot of spiritual kind of stuff on the internet, and then I turn around and people can accuse me of being like a wannabe prophet, and I want to have all of my followers, and I'm a narcissist and stuff. But if there weren't so many anonymous people who weren't sharing their ideas on the internet, I wouldn't be labeled that. I'd just be like a normal guy. And so that's me pumping myself up. And I never said I have like the special vision or anything like that. I had the special motivation, that's all. So yeah, but I think it's all getting there. It's getting there slowly. People will become less anonymous. You know, if you're a person and you have people to support, I can totally understand it, because you get blackballed. Last year I got hired by the tutoring company to tutor Spanish, you know, big deal. And he actually had me set up for a class and everything. And then they never called me, and he said, "Oh yeah, that like hell, it's canceled. And but I'll call you next year just as soon as the school year starts." You know, and I'm really qualified in history and Spanish. I could teach English. I could do all sorts of stuff. I have a English degree, all that, major in education. And they never called me. It's probably because they looked at my website and on my internet, and they were like, "Frico," and I got blackballed just because I did the YouTube videos. You know, I was looking for work all summer long, just labor. Nobody wanted me. So I know how it is. But if you want to change the world, you got to start with yourself. And those people who say that they're like label themselves as psychic and stuff, and I'm the master spiritual guy or whatever, I think it's cheating. It's kind of like going on a bike ride with somebody who's on EPO or something, you know. They're like, they felt like they had to do that in order to succeed, you know. And you can succeed just by trying, you know. Just get a normal job like everybody else, and then just get out there and be your own like guru to like that one person who watches your video, you know. If one person watches your video, it's worth it, you know. I mean, people do requests for me, and I do it just for that one person. So that's what we should all do. I'd love to give somebody a request. People have done requests for me. I can name one person. Martino007 did my request. So, you know, it's starting to come around. It's cranking into gear. And I should try to participate in that. I should start going around and requesting people who say that they'll do request videos, I should start requesting them again. For a while I was trying that, and then I gave up because nobody did it. But I think I'll start doing that again. And start commenting, you know. People who comment on YouTube videos are also a great service. And I should start doing that too. I think I just kind of started up again, and I'm going to try to start commenting on as many as I can, because that's a good way to get your ideas across, even if you're doing it anonymously. And even the internet trolls, like people who troll me, I'm flattered, and I think those people are great. Even the people who spread hate on the internet, I think they do a lot more good actually than a lot of the people who share like truth, spiritual truth, while claiming to be like the only one with the answer or one of the special ones. Because now you're just reinforcing that whole, you know, the special people who teach the other people who don't have to think for themselves, and you can just follow me. Those trolls who get up there, they're just doing what they can. They're doing their best. You know, they're not smart enough to come up with their own original ideas, so they just make fun of other people. But that's the beginning for them. And then you see later on these do videos where they have their own opinions on stuff and they're not slandering anybody, and it's great. So, you know, hate begets hate. So if you encourage people who have hate, and you just encourage them to do whatever they're doing, that hate will dissipate on its own. So, yeah. So Jim Jones, man, that guy, in a way, was a service to everybody for showing us how crazy we can all get, and what the signs are, because you can just trace it up from the beginning. But it's sad what happened. In the documentary, they're interviewing people who had lost like multiple family members. This one lady lost all 3 of her sons, and her mother and her brother and sister, and said that if she had been there, and this guy also said if he had been there, he would have done the same thing. Because they're all brainwashed, because they all had sleep deprivation. He was only letting them sleep 3 or 4 hours a night, and they were only eating rice and stuff, and they already believed everything he said, so they just took it to the bank. And you know, my experience with that kind of stuff is like Bashar. There's the alien Bashar, half human, half gray, and he says wacky stuff, you know, like Jesus Christ had children who turned into the Merovingians in southern France and all this kind of stuff. And since I believe everything he says, I'm like, okay, I'll believe it, and then I'll try to figure out a way to fit it into my world. But we should all be prepared to drop somebody if they believe everything they say. If they say something manipulative, then bam, they should be out. You know, but if somebody's not manipulative, not telling you have to do something, give them money or whatever, or else some bad thing's going to happen, and it's all go. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with them. It's just that those little things, manipulation, fear mongering, and, you know, give me your money, and then the next thing's going to be do something bad. So that's what I think about Jim Jones. Okay, peace out.